You said that.
Let me ask
You
somebody.
said that.
Somebody who know me for real, right? Who really know me.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what you want to hear.
I think you have.
Do you think I'm like from
What she got?
I think she's heavy. I think she's heavy.
The video ain't really the issue. The video being posted up on social media is the issue. If someone would have sent her that video privately, she and I would have had one conversation about it, and it would have been over.
Atlanta thought it was just another calm night until the internet exploded with the kind of betrayal no one saw coming. A leaked hotel video shook the Harris family to its core, exposing Clifford T. Harris in a dimly lit luxury suite with none other than Shekinah Anderson, the woman the world once knew as Tiny's closest confidant. This wasn't whispers in the streets. This wasn't vague rumors. This was raw, undeniable footage of betrayal that lit up TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram like a wildfire. Hashtags like #exposed and #justice. Fortini shot to the top overnight, leaving fans stunned, critics disgusted, and supporters heartbroken. The video itself left no room for excuses. Expensive champagne bottles glittered on the table. The hotel curtains barely pulled shut, and in the center of it all, T and Shekinah caught in an embrace that shattered the image he built for decades. Loyalty, family, respect. Everything he preached seemed to vanish. In an instant, fans began stitching the clip with old interviews of Tiny, speaking on trust and love, making the betrayal cut even deeper. What the internet once treated as gossip had transformed into a digital earthquake, breaking down a marriage and turning private heartbreak into global humiliation.
It just put a lot of back and forth, a lot more strain on just what we had going on. Afraid of that, and it did put some strain on our relationship. If you see, and we was about to divorce here and there, and breaking up here and there.
Tiny was not going to stay quiet and disappear. She did not hide her feelings. Instead, she walked straight into a courtroom. She held her head high, but everyone could see the pain on her face. She started a huge legal case against her husband, T.I., and her best friend, Shekinah. People were calling it the biggest betrayal lawsuit in years. She was suing them for $50 million. She said this money was for the damage they caused. She accused them of hurting her emotionally, betraying her, and ruining her reputation in front of the whole world. Reporters were shocked. Tiny was saying that $50 million was the price of her broken life. It was for her broken family, and the loyalty she had given for years that was now destroyed. The courtroom became the most watched place in America. Camera lights flashed as the lawyers read the charges, but the surprises did not stop there. Someone, who did not give their name, gave the court a secret diary. They said it was written by Shekinah. Inside, the words were cruel and sharp. One line read, "Clifford promised me he'd leave Tiny. He told me we'd rule the industry together." These words felt like a knife in the heart to everyone listening. Tiny broke down crying, screaming that they had destroyed her life and stolen her family. A video of her crying spread everywhere online in minutes. Millions of people watched it and felt her pain. She was no longer just a famous wife. She became a symbol for every woman who had ever been betrayed. People saw her as a tragic queen. But T.I. was not going to let everyone believe the story without a fight. His lawyers fought back with a shocking claim. They said Tiny's breakdown was fake and planned. They said Shekinah was manipulating the situation to become famous. The courtroom was filled with gasps. Was this really a simple story of betrayal? Or was there a more complicated plan to ruin T.I.? Shekinah was not staying quiet either. She stood up and yelled back that T.I. was the one who had manipulated her. She said he promised her love and a future, but then let her take all the blame. Now, the two women who were once closest to him were bitter enemies. They were fighting not just for the truth, but for their own dignity. And T.I. sat right in the middle of the storm. Outside the courtroom, the internet went crazy. Shekinah's Instagram page was flooded with hateful comments. People called her a snake and a homewrecker. They made memes painting her as the villain. At the same time, Tiny was treated like a hero. People made art of her with words like, "Justice for Tiny." Her supporters filled the internet with heartbreak emojis. People who used to like T.I. now said he had destroyed his own life. A very sad moment happened when Tiny left the court holding her daughter's hand. Cameras recorded her trembling voice as she looked at her child and cried, "Look what your father did to us. Look how he destroyed our home." That video was seen all over the world. This was no longer just celebrity gossip. It was a real family tragedy, and everyone was watching it happen. Because of the scandal, companies stopped working with T.I. His concerts were canceled. Angry fans protested outside his house. Shekinah's reputation was completely ruined. And Tiny, even though she was broken, was the woman the entire world felt sorry for. Just when people thought things couldn't get worse, Tiny's lawyers presented new evidence. They played an audio recording. On it, a man who sounded exactly like T.I. was heard whispering, "Just keep it quiet, Shekinah. Tiny can never know. If this gets out, everything I built is gone." The courtroom gasped again. Reporters rushed to post the news online. Tiny put her face in her hands. It sounded like undeniable proof of his betrayal. Then came hotel receipts. The receipts showed reservations under T.I.'s name, with Shekinah listed as a guest. This connected them directly. This wasn't just talk anymore. It was a paper trail. Tiny's lawyer looked at the jury and said loudly, "This is proof. Proof that Clifford Harris destroyed his wife's trust and shattered their family." Tiny was shaking so much she had to be held up by her lawyer. T.I.'s legal team tried to explain it away. They said the receipts were fake and that enemies in the music business were trying to ruin T.I. This made some people online wonder if he was being set up. Then it was Shekinah's turn to speak in court. She was shaking but defiant. She looked at T.I. and Tiny and said, "I never wanted to hurt Tiny. She was my sister." Then she said, "But T.I. promised me everything. He said he'd leave her. He said I was the one." As she spoke, her voice cracked and she cried. Outside, protesters screamed, "Stand with Tiny." People in the courtroom whispered, "Liar." Shekinah was trying to make herself seem like a victim, but almost no one felt sorry for her. Tiny's lawyers then showed private text messages that Shekinah had apparently sent to T.I. One message read, "Cliff, I can't wait until she's out of the picture. It's finally going to be just us." The courtroom erupted. This made Shekinah look even worse. She wasn't just the other woman. It seemed like she was actively plotting against her best friend. Tiny, crying, turned to the judge and said, "How much more do I have to see? How much more can a woman take?" Another video of her crying went viral instantly. Then, a hotel employee came forward. He said he saw T.I. and Shekinah checking into the hotel together many times. This sent more shockwaves through the room. T.I. lost his temper. He slammed his fist on the table and yelled, "They're lying. This is all lies. I'm being set up." The judge warned him to be quiet. Cameras caught his meltdown, and that clip also got millions of views. The world outside was in chaos. News vans and helicopters surrounded the courthouse. People held signs that said, "Ban the betrayers." A painting of Tiny showed her as a queen rising from the ashes. Every single part of this family tragedy was being watched by the world like a TV show. Then, another financial bombshell dropped. Someone leaked bank records, showing that T.I. had sent huge amounts of money to Shekinah over 2 years. This made it look like he was not only having an affair, but also paying her to keep it a secret. When the numbers were shown in court, Tiny gasped. The jury looked stunned. Shekinah broke down, screaming, "It wasn't about money. I loved him. I thought he loved me back." By this point, Tiny had become more than just a betrayed wife. She was now a symbol for every woman who had ever been lied to and hurt by a man. Leaving the courthouse, she looked into the cameras and said, "This isn't just about me. This is about every woman who's ever been lied to, betrayed, and broken. I will fight until the truth is heard." Her words were played on every news channel. She was now the tragic heroine of the story. Meanwhile, T.I. sat without expression, watching his life's work fall apart. His business deals were gone. His fans were protesting. His name, which once stood for respect, was now associated with betrayal. Shekinah, who had wanted fame, was now drowning in shame. Her social media was a war zone of hate. The trial felt less like a court case and more like a sad, real-life play. The silence was heavy as Tiny looked at her husband and her former best friend. When Shekinah spoke again, her shaky voice said, Clifford promised me love. He promised me freedom. He told me Tiny was holding him back. The gallery gasped. Tiny collapsed into her lawyer's arms. The world stopped to watch. Then, Tiny's lawyers played another piece of evidence. A private voicemail from T.I. to Shekinah. His voice was heard saying, "I can't let Tiny know. If this gets out, it's over for me. But you're the only one who understands me." The whole room froze. Tiny let out a scream that silenced everyone. "You ruined my family. You lied to my children." This moment was replayed over and over, solidifying the scandal as one of the worst in music history. The city felt like it was on fire with protesters. The courthouse steps were a circus of media. Then, Tiny gave a speech that broke everyone's heart. Her voice cracked as she said, "I gave him my youth, my loyalty, my heart, and he traded it all for lies with my so-called best friend." T.I. tried to say he was the one who was manipulated and trapped, but the jury's faces show they did not believe him. Shekinah yelled out, "He loved me. Don't make me the villain when all I did was believe his lies." But no one was convinced. Finally, Tiny's lawyers showed diary entries in Shekinah's own handwriting. One entry said, "Clifford said we'd rule the industry together. Tiny is nothing compared to what we have." The gallery gasped one more time. Tiny collapsed again, clutching her chest, whispering, "Why me?" Cameras recorded it all. This moment turned the scandal from entertainment into a real tragedy. By the time the day in court was over, the damage was done. Tiny was so upset she had to be helped into a car, crying uncontrollably. T.I. left with his head down, ignoring everyone. Shekinah had to push through a crowd of people yelling insults at her. Online, people were sharing videos of themselves crying along with Tiny. They shared their own stories of betrayal. Everyone was arguing about whether T.I.'s career could ever recover. The results were brutal. Radio stations thought about stopping his music. People tried to get him canceled. His tours were called off. His empire was crumbling. Shekinah's name became linked with scandal. Everything she had done before was now used to mock her. And Tiny, even though she was shattered, carried herself like a survivor. She was seen as the queen of heartbreak. The saddest picture of all came from a fan's video. It showed Tiny holding her daughter's hand, whispering, "This is why I fought to protect you. To show you no woman deserves this." That video spread everywhere. It symbolized everything, the betrayal, the pain, but also the strength of a woman who was still standing even after her world had burned down. Now, the big questions remain. Will Tiny ever heal from this? Can T.I. ever rebuild his life and career? Or is his reputation poisoned forever? And has Shekinah made herself one of the most hated people in the music world? This was not just gossip. It was a terrible betrayal that happened on the world's biggest stage. A love story was shattered. A friendship turned into a knife fight, and children were left with scars from a situation they never asked for. We talk about scandals like they are entertainment, but this was not entertainment. This was a tragedy. A family was ripped apart while millions watched. A courtroom became a stage, and a woman cried out for justice, and the whole world heard her.